morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you for making the rain hold off.
Said speak up over there. Is the mic working?
Okay, you'll have to listen closely. We don't have amplified sound, so I'll do my best. I'm Kevin Beaumiller, and I'm privileged to be Reading's Veteran Service Officer. Thank you for joining us on this Memorial Day as we celebrate, honor, and remember those that paid the ultimate sacrifice while serving our country so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we sometimes take for granted. I now welcome Father David Campo, Reading Catholic Community, and Navy Lieutenant J.G. Chaplain candidate for an invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, hear our prayer we offer you this Memorial Day. Thank you for the gift you have made of each one of the men and women who have served in the armed forces and have laid down their lives so that we may live. They heeded your invitation to love one another, and because of their courage and loving until the end, bless them with your gaze of peace. Reward them with the fullness of your peace, the fullness of joy, and the end of all their hopes. May your steadfast love draw them quickly to your arms. May their families and friends be comforted here by your grace, for you do not wish us to live as orphans, but close to you, merciful God. May they receive the consolation of true friends, strength to comfort those in need, and the perseverance to live each day as a gift from others, for others, and with others. We make this prayer in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Father Campo, and welcome to Reading. This is Father Campo's first public ceremony in town. The Reading Police Department Honor Guard, post the colors. The national anthem will now be performed by Liam Sennett from the Reading Memorial High School. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well done. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you, Lee, and well done. Again, greetings from the town common. A year ago, we stood in the same spot. Yeah, please be seated. We stood in the same spot, thinking and hoping we would be conducting this ceremony behind us in Laurel Hill Cemetery after a parade down Main Street. While we once again are not having a public ceremony, we are still honoring our veterans with the solemn dignity and respect they have earned through their service and sacrifice. Wreaths have been placed at each of the veterans areas of Reading's 4 cemeteries: Laurel Hill, Forest Glen, Charles Lawn, and Wood End. If you've never visited our cemeteries this time of year, I encourage you to please make the time to visit and honor our veterans. The agony, pain, and suffering from the past 15 months have impacted every one of us. In a way, we've survived our own war. We've survived history. In front of us on the town common is a flag for each of the 49 Reading residents we lost to the COVID-19 virus. May they rest in peace. May their families who were not able to properly honor them find peace and solace in the days ahead. I would now like to invite Paula Curran, member of the Reading Board of Health, for COVID reflections. Paula.
Good morning, everyone. Before I begin my remarks, I wanted to alert everyone or make everyone aware of an event that is going to occur nationwide this afternoon. It is called Taps Across America, and you can go online, just put in Taps Across America. If you want, you can perform a version of taps with whatever instrument you're able to play, or you can just listen and see other performances as well. And it is happening at 3 o'clock on Eastern Standard Time so that it can be across the United States all at the same time. So I invite you to participate in that event. Now, I see that people can't hear me. No. Thank you. I will try to speak louder. Dear friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, and fellow citizens of our hometown, I stand here today as a representative of our town government, a volunteer in service as a member of the Board of Health. I have been a resident of this town for more years than I care to mention. I even remember times marching up Main Street as a campfire girl in Memorial Day parades. So it goes without saying that speaking before you today is a considerable honor for me. I was sworn in as a member of the Board of Health last June. At the time, though I am a nurse, I was not working at my job as a nursing instructor due to everything having been shut down. I also felt limited in my ability to help with direct care of people with COVID due to my responsibilities in caring for and protecting various vulnerable family members. I felt that working as a member of the Board of Health, I could at least do something to help. Little did I realize what I was getting into. It has been quite an experience. As we honor our veterans today, many of whom across the country tragically died of this disease, I can't help but reflect on the parallels of war, as Kevin just mentioned, and what we have all been through with COVID. In fact, we all often use terms that are used by the military when describing aspects of the pandemic. Terms like fighting, frontline, war, attack, defense, battle, and so on. This is no small coincidence, for we are and have been indeed at war with this disease. In war, we are led by our Commander-in-Chief, Congress, heads of military branches, and so on, down to the soldiers and sailors on the front line. The parallel with the war on COVID is similar, starting with the Commander-in-Chief and Congress, advised by our various leaders in Health and Human Services. This too cascaded down to each city, state, and town with incident command groups, including the heads of each department of boards of health. As we think back about where we all were a year ago, most of us were anxious and afraid of all the unknowns, and we relied heavily on each other to get through it. Most of us were glued to media, trying to keep up with all the developments and trying to sort out fact from fiction. That being said, we are all the source of strength and the ultimate reason for defeating this disease, as today we see the radical decline in infection rate and death. We are all the front line, and I would suggest we are all vets. We would not be where we are without each of us doing our part and making great sacrifices for the good of all. Sadly, some of us on that front line, doctors, nurses, medical personnel, and others, even made the supreme sacrifice. Many of us have been wounded, some more than others, some physically, others emotionally. I would even submit that we all have some measure of post-traumatic stress syndrome and will be healing for a long time to come. We need to show ourselves and each other patience, kindness, and compassion during this time. I have also been thinking of the parallel between those vets dying in battle in foreign countries. They were often alone and always without loved ones. The sad coincidence is that of our many loved ones dying isolated in the foreign environment of hospitals, without the comfort and physical presence of family and friends. This is nothing short of gut-wrenching and gave me a much better appreciation of what our servicemen and women and their families have experienced and sacrificed. At this time of year, I can't help but think about all the graduations and commencement exercises that are being celebrated. We too can look at this point in the pandemic as a commencement. We go forward into a more open society, armed with the knowledge and experience of what we have been through. My hope is that as difficult as this past year has been for us, we can focus on the positives we have experienced. Things like quality family time, looking out for the vulnerable, helping our neighbors, reaching out to those who have been isolated, greeting strangers while going out for a walk, and random acts of kindness and support toward one another. We have relearned to appreciate the value of a simple hug. These are beautiful and important memories to carry forward and are critical to our healing, especially the hugs. We all know full well that we can do hard things. As I draw to a close, I'd like to share with you a poem I came across by the great African-American poet Maya Angelou. I feel it aptly honors and celebrates the lives lost from COVID, as well as those of all our veterans of conflict throughout history. It is entitled, "When Great Trees Fall." When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, Small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paula. And thank you to the entire Board of Health for the monumental, unsung effort during the past 15 months. Reading is very lucky to have such dedicated individuals working to keep us safe. I now welcome Chair of the Reading Select Board, Karen Herrick, for Memorial Day comments. Karen?
Thank you, Paula. That was amazing. Good morning. My name is Karen Gately Herrick. I'm the chair of the Reading Select Board. It is my privilege to speak to you all today on behalf of the Reading Select Board. Today we remember our fallen heroes, soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice in pursuit of freedom. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank two decorated veterans who have joined us today. Retired Captain Mary Jo Majors, U.S. Navy, and Father Richard Erickson, retired Brigadier General, U.S. Air Force. And also to include my welcome to Father David Campo, Lieutenant, U.S. Navy. Thank you all for your past bravery service and for your ongoing volunteerism on behalf of U.S. military veterans, not the least of which is joining us today here on this historic common. Thank you. Eleanor Roosevelt said that freedom makes a huge requirement of every human being. With freedom comes responsibility.
Karen, I think she needs you to use the mic.
Is it working? Oh.
It'll pick up better.
Okay, great. Eleanor Roosevelt said that freedom makes a huge requirement of every human being. With freedom comes responsibility. It can be easy to forget that the freedom and peace we enjoy today would not have been possible without the thousands of women and men who dedicated their lives to this responsibility at great personal cost to themselves and their families. Today, we remember and honor their achievements as well as their sacrifice. Freedom is never free. As we gather for somber reflection of their valor and to express profound gratitude for the sacrifice, we can challenge ourselves to live up to their legacy. Ronald Reagan once noted, "Soldiers don't get to choose their wars." The living can continue to honor the memory of those laid to rest here in Reading and around the world by continuing to fight for justice, freedom, tolerance, and goodwill for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And again, thank you to the entire Select Board for their leadership during the past year. I'm going to repeat the words I said 1 year ago. These unprecedented times have required strong leadership. And Reading is so fortunate to have had our superb town manager guiding us down this road, a road never traveled. I now welcome Reading Town's manager, Bob LeLachère, to share a few comments. Bob?
Thanks, Kevin. I'll do my best. My voice is fading. A special thanks to the speakers that preceded me and for those that will follow. Memorial Day is meant to be a day where we remember those that sacrificed their lives in order that we enjoy our freedom. Last year I said we should pause to reflect on those who died in active military service for our country, and that we should be full of admiration and thankfulness for which there are no real words. This is equally true today, but this year I'm going to veer off a little bit and make some remarks that respectfully can't wait for Veterans Day. Last month I had the good fortune of joining the best VSO in the Commonwealth, our own Kevin Boemiller, along with Reading Memorial High School class of '79 graduate and Reading resident Brigadier General Jack Hammond, who's retired, as they both received unanimous support from our school committee to place a Vietnam Veteran Memorial to all who served. It was hard not to notice and admire the dozens of medals worn by General Hammond, as he modestly explained he had just finished a formal ceremony in Boston that night. I'm certain through selfless acts of heroism, he saved many lives and deserves every recognition. Yet to me, his greatest achievement is an area that's not always receiving a full attention in public ceremonies. Jack is the executive director of Home Base Program, a Red Sox Foundation and Mass General Hospital program dedicated to healing the invisible wounds of veterans of all eras. Today it's fitting to remember those that gave their lives so that we may be free. And families in Reading and throughout the Commonwealth are encouraged and supported by our words. Yet this year we must also remember and speak words of thanks and remembrance to veterans from all eras that carry around their invisible wounds. The pandemic has brought us a unique opportunity to more readily recognize and do a better job as a community in the area of mental health. Who better deserves our care and attention in this area than our veterans? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I now welcome Nick Bellows from Reading Troop 702 to read in Flanders Field.
In Flanders fields, In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row. That marks our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow. Loved, and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Kevin, why don't you ask the people to move in closer so they can hear?
If they want to. If you'd like to move in closer, feel free. If you can't hear us, just amplified sound wasn't allowed today, so. It's now my privilege to welcome Captain Mary Jo Majors, Nurse Corps, United States Navy retired. Born and raised in North Cambridge, Massachusetts, she graduated in 1969 with a Bachelor of Nursing degree from St. Anselm College. She began her career as a Nurse Corps candidate with a Navy scholarship for her last 2 years of college and was commissioned an ensign on December 11, 1968. Active duty began in 1969 at the Naval Hospital, Memphis, Tennessee, which included caring for many Navy and Marine Corps wounded warriors returning from the Vietnam War. She went on to serve at Naval Hospital, Naples, Italy, and joined the reserves, Navy Reserves, after active service in 1973. She completed a Master's of Science degree in nursing from Boston University and continued to serve on numerous reserve and active duty assignments in staff and leadership positions at various military duty stations. She retired in 2011 with over 43 years of service and has continued to serve to volunteer service in many roles and organizations affiliated with the military and their families and veterans. Captain Majors also worked in non-military healthcare organizations in many states while serving in the reserves. Her final position was the Clinical Operations Director of Nursing, South Cove Community Health Center, Boston, Mass., where she retired from in March of 2016. Mary Jo has served her entire life in service to others and is a volunteer providing time, support, leadership, education, and mentorship to many civilian, military, and veteran organizations and to high school and college students. She has received numerous other awards for her leadership and devotion of service to others, to include Massachusetts Department of Veteran Services, Outstanding Woman Veteran of the Year in November 2010, and most recently recognized with the National Navy Nurse Corps Association National Service Award in May of 2020. Captain Majors is currently the first female president of the Wardroom Club, a dining club for active and former Navy, Coast Guard, Marine, and Merchant Marine officers in Boston. This club has been in existence since 1899. The club was wise to have elected a Nurse Corps officer to lead us during this pandemic. Captain Majors, we have the honor to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thanks, my friend. We can finally hug. We can finally hug. Well, we're all vaccinated. Okay, here's the deal. Can the members of the police and fire department hear me? I'm going to use my outside voice, and I hope it's not too loud for people listening on TV or computer. But anyways, thanks, Kevin. So thanks for the kind introduction, and good morning, everybody. And isn't it nice that we're outside? We're not too far away from each other, but you know, we're here to enjoy it and to honor those who have served. So to General Reverend Erickson, Lieutenant J.G. Select, Father Campo, Veteran Service Officer, Commander Kevin Bo Miller, Town Manager, members of the town's boards, honorable and distinguished guests from the uniformed services, federal, city, and state government, American Legion, and VFW posts, members of the Reading Fire and Police Department, members of the high school band, chorus, and the Boy Scouts, my fellow veterans and members from all the armed forces and other uniformed services, and especially to any Gold Star mothers and fathers and other family members and friends of our deceased veterans. It is a great honor and a special privilege for me to be here today with you as a guest speaker, whether you're here in person or watching on TV or your computer. And I'm here to represent the military armed services, the Navy, as a military nurse and member of the Massachusetts Women Veterans Network, and to share in the town's Memorial Day ceremony to honor our fallen and deceased heroes and to give solemn tribute to them all. It is the most special day of the year to me as a veteran. I hope that I can do justice to the memories of our veterans today. Greater love hath no man or woman than this, that a man laid down his life for his brothers and sisters. I very much appreciated that Commander Bowmiller, a very good friend of mine, invited me to be the guest speaker here for this special annual ceremony. It's so nice to be back here in town, as I had many friends from Reading in my younger days, and then while I was at college at St. Anselm, and then again I have more friends here in Reading and some of my alumni. So it's nice to be back. I'm thankful for this opportunity to share in a ceremony to honor our fallen and deceased veterans, to thank all of you who served and family members who supported us, and to participate in such a special event. And what makes it even more special is that General Erickson is another good friend of mine, and we are both graduates of St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire, although I graduated 11 years before him. I think we both still look pretty good, don't you? Under my hat I have a few gray hairs. I have a few too. Anyway, so nice to be here with you, General.
My pleasure.
And I'm also good friends with his dad. We've arranged to make sure his dad got on an honor flight, and I'm one of the volunteers for honor flight, and so I met him late one day coming in Logan Airport. So President John F. Kennedy served in my earlier years, and he once said, "A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors, the men it remembers." Your service in the military gives you the right to be proud and the privilege to be honored. The men and women who gave their tomorrows for our todays gave their lives for our freedom. They gave the ultimate sacrifice. We should be so thankful for the freedoms we enjoy today because of their sacrifices. This is a very important period of time, of many remembrances of the wars and conflicts that we have experienced in our country, and I have been involved in a few of them. It's going to be the 80th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Last year was the 70th anniversary of the end of the Korean War. We are in the midst of the 50th commemoration period of the Vietnam War that ended in 1975. It is the 30th anniversary of Operation Desert Storm. And soon it will be the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and the hopeful end to a series of wars that have lasted almost 20 years, which resulted in more than 6,000 more flags to be placed in our cemeteries. This just brings me to tears. We need to remember the military and civilians who served and died during and since those wars ended, whether they are in recognized, marked graves, or died on foreign shores, in foreign waters and seas, who were buried at sea, or lay in the multiple unmarked graves at all war sites. Each one of these servicemen and women has earned the right to be draped by a flag on their coffin, to have a flag flown at their gravesite, and to be remembered by others, not just this on Memorial Day, but every day of the year. My now deceased father served in the Army during World War II, years before I was born. And two of his children had careers in the military. I had a brother in the Army and me in the Navy. I was fortunate growing up in North Cambridge, as many of you here were, in the 50s and 60s, when everyone in our neighborhoods and cities honored our veterans as my dad, and they went to parades and ceremonies and proudly placed flags in our cemeteries and held flags as some of you here today. And I want you to remember this. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each member of the armed services who died protecting it. Those flags placed at the graves remind us of those who have served our country and remind us to remember them and to say a prayer for them. Their sacrifices for freedom gave us our freedom. May we never forget. I am so proud to serve as a Navy nurse and be one of the 265,000 women who served during the Vietnam War. I started my career caring for our sailors and Marines during the Vietnam War in a stateside naval hospital in Millington, Tennessee. And I spent over 18 months taking care of wounded men who had just returned from Vietnam. Tennessee was the receiving hospital for any of the sailors and Marines who were hurt in the war that lived in Tennessee or the surrounding cities. So we at any time might have over 100 men who had come back from the war who we were going to be taking care of for days and weeks and months. It was the most challenging but the most rewarding duty that I have ever had. And it was the start of my nursing career, and a very long one, both in the military and in the civilian healthcare. The Navy was the best decision I ever made. I was not treated very well when I traveled during the war or told people that I served during the Vietnam War. I did not understand why, after I had taken care of many warriors, that I was not appreciated along with so many other veterans. I signed up to serve wherever I went. And what had I done wrong? And why were they not also grieving the death of many who served? So I have become very involved in an organization titled the 50th Commemoration of the Vietnam War. It was established by presidential proclamation to begin Memorial Day 2012 and continue to Veterans Day 2025 to bring recognition and appreciation to those who remain from the 9 million Americans who served during the war from November 1st, 1955 to May 15th, 1975, whether they served in Vietnam or anywhere else. Of special note is that there is an important phrase in the Vietnam Veterans of America poem called In Remembrance, and it states, "Dying for freedom isn't the worst that could happen. Being forgotten is." We want them to know that a grateful nation thanks them. I lost some shipmates who served in Southwest Asia, but so many more since then as the years have passed. We have all lost many friends and family members who served in the military from both natural causes or from the even more unending multiple healthcare issues affecting and ravaging their physical and mental health that occurred as results of their service, where they served, when they served, what they saw and experienced, and injuries sustained, whether in the United States or at an overseas site. They ended up suffering for many years, many alone, without anyone loving them. And we lose as many as 20 veterans a day in the United States who take their own lives for various reasons. They lost the battle they could not defend. However, little would we know in early last year that over the next 15 months that we would experience and be witnesses to the loss of our veterans and their families in the time since then from the COVID-19 pandemic, with which they were infected from so many sources and in so many places. Who would ever think that our older veterans would survive those wars and live to enjoy full lives and then be taken down by the unseen enemy? I know that you lost almost 50 veterans from the pandemic. May they rest in peace. I want to say a very special thank you to all of you in the military or civilian sectors who cared for all our citizens and veterans as chaplains, veteran service officers, health and mental care providers and their staff, first responders from so many organizations, and those in the many, many other roles in which you served, and for your sacrifices to your own lives and your families to care. Now with the effort of so many, I believe we are coming out of the worst months and thankfully can return to the events such as this once again. Our older veterans need us to see them and give them a hug and a smile. So hugs to you all, and I'll hug everyone you want afterwards. I'm Irish, I'm a hugger. It might say Majors, but I'm an O'Dwyer from North Cambridge and my father was from Tipperary. You have to have a little levity now and then. I want to now focus for a few minutes on what we all should be thinking about as we remember those who have died for our liberties. Mourn not too long that he or she is gone, but rejoice forever that he or she was. It relates to what we see when we look at a headstone or a veteran's plate at a gravesite of a veteran or anyone else in our cemeteries. I am not sure how many of you have ever heard or read the poem, The Dash by Linda Ellis. I first came across this poem in 2003 after my mom died, when I had to make a decision about what I needed to put engraved on the headstone. I looked closely at what was already there, and the headstone for my father, which had been there since 1966, only listed the date he died, but not the year he was born, which was 1913. I thought that this was odd, but then I started looking around and other headstones nearby, and those for people who had died many, many years ago only had the date of the year of which they passed away. I wondered why that was. So I talked to our family friend who owned the funeral home about it, and he said he was going to send me a poem that would help me make the best decision. I will tell you why after I read this to you. It's called The Dash. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they have spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way that others feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more than wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about you and how you spent your dash? I decided after reading this poem that I would have engraved on my mother's headstone both her year of birth and the date of her death. It was very important to note both of those and include the dash to signify the years between her birth and death and all she accomplished. So my intent here for today's ceremony is to give you all another perspective, a more positive and hopeful perspective to think about when you think about a deceased veteran and look at their gravesite or on a veteran's memorial wall. I want us to remember that it was not just the date they left us in life that was important. For those who died on a day serving our country or afterwards, but what happened in their dash. They should be remembered for the years in between their birth and death. They had parents, families, friends, careers, memories, aspirations, and hope for the future, and most important, pride in serving their country. I hope that you all might reflect on this poem and what it could mean to your life as you think about what you have done and are doing with your life and how best you would want to be known after your life has ended. I believe that in the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take, the relationships we are afraid to have, and the decisions we waited too long to make. I would like to finish today with the words of one section of what is known as the Navy hymn, Eternal Father. Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm hath bound the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep. O hear us when we cry to thee for those in peril on the sea. God bless all our military, and God bless all of you who support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Captain Majors. That was wonderful. I will now read the names of those Reading veterans that have passed since last Memorial Day. Some of these individuals did pass as a result of COVID-19. Barbara Adams, Charles Arthur, James Blomley, Gerald Bossino, Marcel Boisvert, Charles Burke, William Burns, Joseph Calaresso, Charles Chambers, John Crosby, Eunice Daigle, John Doucette, Peter Fantasia, Thomas Foxen, Frank Goddard Jr., Calvin Grant, Christina Hannigan, Donald Hart, Barbara Hitchcock, Wendell Hodgkins, Richard Hull Sr., Russell Jeffrey, Lloyd Johnson, Neil Judry, Gordon Little, Ralph Lutz, Frank McQuestion, George McWilliams, Frank Mello, Charles Mitchell, Robert Murphy, Eugene Nigro, Robert Nordstrand, Robert O'Shaughnessy, Sebastian Petty, Warren Poor, Richard Redman, Robert Riebenacker, Frederick Shea, Alan Sletterink, Louis Soriento, Herbert Spinney, Barry Stevens, Richard Fursky, Carl Timberman, Chester Tominski, John Welsh, and Dorothy White. May they all rest in peace. We will now place a wreath in remembrance of all our fallen heroes, to be followed by taps. Father Erickson, would you please join us? Please provide a closing prayer.
Let us pray. Loving God, thank you for this sacred time together as we have commended to you the 2,451 souls from Reading who have laid down their lives for us and for all the fallen heroes of our country. We lift up to you all those who have died in action and also all those who have died a slow death because of their invisible wounds, because of PTSD, because of Agent Orange, because of burn pits, because of the trauma that being in war has brought upon us. Bless their families and their loved ones who share so deeply in their sacrifice. We ask your blessing on all those who serve our nation today, both in preserving the precious gift of freedom and continuing to provide urgent relief and recovery from the coronavirus. May their duty honor the sacrifice of those who have laid down their lives for our country. May your blessing remain with them and with us, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, Father Erickson. During the past 15 months, I have witnessed countless acts of generosity and kindness in our community. As the pandemic wanes, please continue to be kind. Please continue to take care of your family, friends, and neighbors. We must learn from these past 15 months as we move forward. I look forward to Memorial Day 22 when the Reading Memorial High School Band again leads us down Main Street. Children can again be in the street waving the American flag to honor our heroes. And we return to each of our cemeteries to remember those who have served. I'd like to thank those who participated in today's ceremony, RCTV for broadcasting this event, Father Erickson and Father Campo, the Reading Police Department, Liam Sinnott, Paula Curran, Bob LeLacheur, Karen Herrick, Captain Majors, Nick Bellows, Owen Abruzzi, Gibson Carter, and Joe Mulligan from the Reading Memorial High School Band. Thank you to the amazing cemetery grounds crew who teamed up with the Parks Department, who once again did a tremendous job preparing our 52 acres of cemeteries. To Raymond Boyd, our soldier and sailor's graves officer, his lieutenant Bill Brown, and the many volunteers that endured the heat last week to place the markers, and to the 100 plus scouts and their parents who bundled up for the cold rain on Saturday morning to place the flags and flowers on the graves of the 2,451 veterans that have gone before us. And finally, thank you to the Reading Select Board, Town Manager Bob LeLacheur and Assistant Town Manager Gene Delios for the support of veterans issues throughout the year. May God bless all those that have gone before us and all those currently serving to protect our freedom. Please continue to be safe, everyone. Thank you, and be well.
Good job.
That's a wrap.
Semper Fortis.
Held on
Semper
for
Fortis.
the whole thing. It's amazing.
Well, there's a lady over there who's been taking
very
pictures.
much.
She's
And
taking
welcome.
the pictures.
Welcome.
All of you.
Great job.
There was a lady there.
Thank you, Karen.
So I'm saying you should get a couple of pictures.